It unlocks
Shuts your shields up. This sounds insane. Multiple speeds. This is what I was talking about the other day, Mesa.
There we go. Ship rolls. Yeah.
Ship rolls for the game because every role in itself and every ship can offer unique gameplay opportunities for individual players.
We want to provide a lot more variety to the gameplay.
Yeah, you could see the cut where he stood up the first time.
Careers, different responsibilities, and different sort of perspectives.
Them salvaging a C2, heresy.
On gameplay where people contribute different types of work and different types of jobs.
That's them dropping bombs. Love to see it.
And really expands the game with giving the players lots of chances to have a variety of different experiences. It's not just about combat. It's not just about
the heat must be on in there.
It's about piracy. It's about all of those things. All those lights, man. So we need ships that can act and.
Do you see that black mold? That looks sexy.
To figure out these roles and define what they are and make the gameplay for them, we started very heavily leaning toward combat, mostly because combat is a mechanic that is very widely applicable throughout the game, and the principles behind it apply to various other roles in the game.
We've been working away in the S42 branch, and this has really allowed us to isolate these ships. So we've kind of broken it down into archetypes, and it's really allowed us to kind of break down what these ships do, and also it's to make sure that when we are defining these roles and balancing these roles, that we're putting the ships in the right place, because we don't want the ships to be like, you play this ship, it means you dominate this part of the game. That there's always got to be plus and minuses so the balance is right. So there's still some crossover between the ships. So just picking one type of ship.
Mesa lost power.
Terrible.
We have already defined several ship roles, and they're usually known as light, medium, and heavy fighters. Light fighters for us are fighters which are very dominant in the area of 1 versus 1 PvP combat.
But they come with a downside, because obviously the light, which means the materials chosen on the ship, are probably not the strongest. So it's more about the attack. It's more about trying to outposition and get in there and attack and get out of the situation.
Heavy fighters are kind of the opposite. They're not supposed to be really good at 1 versus 1, but they excel at N versus N engagements. So when we have group battles. Medium fighters for us, internally we call multi-role fighters, because they have a lot of hard points. So they have a lot of loadout flexibility. So a player can tune them to the role whatever they want, but they will never reach the performance of dedicated ships.
A lot of the medium fighters sometimes come with a turret as well, so they've got that additional gameplay of the turret, which is aimed to kind of counter the lack of maneuverability that their ships have.
And then additionally to that, we have racing ships, which are basically just really fast at changing the velocity vectors.
So I hope they're saying, and we're now changing up this.
Which we basically just want to go very fast in the forward area, but never reaching really the performance envelope of dedicated dogfighters.
Interceptors are designed to kind of catch up to ships and disable them. So they come with kind of advanced kind of hardware on these ships.
Bombers, on the other hand, are, they're just slobbing heavy ordnance at larger targets, so you use them to take out bigger ships. But they're not really good at, killing small fighters. From smaller ships coming to...
They should have showed it being a hammerhead getting one shot.
We want to change the gameplay to be less about positional combat, but more going into the naval style of combat, where it's important to show the correct shield and fire arcs and timing your shots over long distances.
So the purpose of ship roles is to really help players understand what ships should be used and when they should be used. And it's really about delivering on those kind of gameplay promises that we've been talking about over the past kind of several years.
If every ship is the same, it's not fun. But if we have dedicated ships with dedicated pros and cons, then we can create very exciting combat environments. And the biggest challenge we see in order to get that gameplay we want is the current speed that we have in combat.
It's a subject we've talked about many, many times in the past. It's something we've tried many things with.
Yeah, it is.
We've tried limiting things at speed. We've tried adjusting handling at speed. We've tried so many things to kind of manage the negative impact of speed on combat.
When ships are going fast in combat, they usually just end up very far apart, which is not very interesting, and it just devolves into jousting very quickly, which is also not very interesting.
The second you create a longer distance between you and a target, your angular requirements to maneuver to that target are just extremely small. And this is a very obvious math reason why high-speed combat is kind of the opposite of what we want to achieve, meaning meaningful and effective positional maneuvering.
We want the combat to be closer and to be more turn-oriented, So rotations should matter more than just flat speed.
Having very high speeds that are pretty much the same between all ship classes negates a lot of the opportunity for smaller ships to flex different types of gameplay.
Another big issue with the speeds in combat is it's very hard to keep players engaged in the combat because players can move so far so quickly in such a short space of time. It's quite hard to keep a track on your opponent.
So you might think, oh, why don't we just make the ship slower and call it a day? Well, we can't do that.
The main reason we can't just make everything slower is the size of the StarCitizen world. We've got huge planets where we need to go from the planet's surface up into space. We need to transverse between different systems. So essentially, we can't have just low speeds all of the time.
There's a massive universe out there to explore. There's planets to explore. And the feelings we want to
Should make
capture
them
with
faster.
speed, we still want element of danger.
I
Like,
think
we're
they're
still
thinking
going
about making
too
like
fast
multiple different
in
speed
lots of
settings.
situations.
We have tried an awful lot over the past few years with what are called soft speed caps, where there is no speed cap on ships, but we encourage gameplay to occur at a lower speed. But it doesn't really work because the advantages of flying fast in terms of defense is just better.
So since the last year, the focus of Vehicle Feature Team shifted very heavily towards Squadron 42 and nailing down the flight and space combat experience for it. And I'm very proud to say that we finally found a really good working solution that we're going to show today.
I'm
So
curious.
the main idea is to simply not have combat and long-range travel at the same time. So we're splitting these gameplay experiences. This will be done by a thing which is called master modes. A master mode is a thing that is globally applied to your ship. And we have two of them. We have SCM, which is now relabeled as standard control mode, and QCM or QM for quantum mode.
The idea is that between these two modes, we can constrain the speeds in combat and also get all of the maneuvering, like high speed maneuvering and traversal mechanics that we had before, but in these distinct modes that are integrated with lore and integrated with the ship functions, such that there's
I'm skeptical here.
The two modes.
So let's start with standard control mode and what this means. So this is the mode that we intend to be the functional mode of the ship, whether it's combat or mining or any of these kind of core kind of things the ship does. We want the player to do these things in this mode. And what this does is it reduces the speed of the ship, but it also enables the shield to be turned on. And obviously the intent behind this is where you do your combat. It's where the guns are on, the missiles can be armed and fired, and all the kind of operational things a ship does operates within this mode.
The speeds that you can reach in SCM are somewhat limited, somewhere between 200 and 300 meters per second, tuning pending. But this is basically the hard cap, which you cannot not really exceed. You can slightly exceed this by using boost, but you cannot maintain any velocity beyond that SCM limit for a longer period of time.
So we're thinking of this as some kind of energy management system, so you can go a little bit faster with a little bit more accelerations when you need to, but you know that it is a limited resource and you should use it carefully.
Specifically, the boost space is interesting for space combat because that boost
Yeah,
space
I'm
is
super
not,
skeptical
is
here.
not spheric as it was before. You can boost the fastest if you're going forward on a straight line, and you have a lot of
The fact that
debuffs
like
when you
in the
find
other
boost
mode,
spaces. That alone
where you
gets us
can
a
go
lot
like
of interesting
1,000,
maneuvering
you're not
space
going to
in
have
the
shields
day-to-day
or
dogfight
missiles
or
and stuff.
guns.
Sounds ridiculous.
Importantly, you don't have your quantum drive available in this mode. The idea is that quantum is restrained to the quantum traversal mode.
And
The second
that.
mode is quantum control mode, or
I'm
QCM
back, man.
or QM.
Crash for a sec there.
What this mode does is it unlocks
Shuts your shields
maximum
up.
velocity
This sounds
that the ship can
insane.
reach. So when you were limited before to 200 to 300 meters per second, now you can go to 1,200, 1,400 meters per second, whatever your ship allows you.
During the development,
This sounds
of the
insane.
quantum mode, we realized we needed something that was a little
So
bit
if
more
somebody's
kind
trying to fly away in this
about
mode and
traveling
you're in the other mode and they're flying past you, you're shooting them with no shields. Like,
and travel across the universe. So we've created this feature called Quantum Boost.
And think
which is
about the
available in the
quantum
quantum mode,
snaring,
and you
right?
can access
yeah,
it
you snare somebody, they come in, no shields on.
Kind of
Yeah.
Boost towards your location.
No, they're
that
coming
you
in
can't look at it, but it's
pieces,
just too far
actually.
away.
Yeah.
And this boost is available for a limited amount of time, and it's purely on a straight line.
Just to give you like a ballpark.
Sounds
Quantum boost will allow you to go to a target fast if it's within, let's say, 50,000 kilometers, whereas you will use quantum travel to do very long range jumps between planets. So quantum mode allows you to go very, very fast with up to like 1200, 1400 meters per second when you want to zip really fast over a planet. It also allows you to do quantum boost to quickly go between points of interest, which are rather close to you. And it allows you to travel long distances between planets and large-scale stellar objects. But it comes at a cost. Your capacitor systems are non-functional because they interfere with the quantum bubble that is allowing you to go fast. You won't have shields. Your shields will collapse right away when you.
This sounds like so many people are gonna get clapped with no shields.
Anything that's firing outwards of your ship will disintegrate the quantum
Piracy,
bubble.
anyone?
Yeah, man, EMPs. As soon as somebody turns on this mode, you EMP them
All your
immediately.
capacitor and combat-rated systems are turned off instantly.
When you switch between modes,
Yeah, it's
there'll
nuts.
be a
Yeah,
little
anytime.
period of
We're
time
chilling.
where everything has to spool up and change. So you will lose your shields during this. You won't have your weapons during this, but you also
This
won't
is
be going
death.
fast. So there's a
This
risk-reward
is death.
element when you need to switch modes.
So it's going to be a very kind of conscious choice of what mode you.
So there's no running
at any particular
anymore,
point.
really.
So if you feel under threat of another someone,
Because to run, you're gonna have to shut your shields off.
maybe switch the standing
Keyword
controller
is
and
salvage.
Yeah.
you can switch into quantum.
Oh,
mode
it's
instead.
trippy. It's
And
gonna take some
this
getting
is
used to.
bringing an element of danger and an element of risk.
Because
Like,
going
for,
into the
like
two
a big
different
ship,
modes is
shields
like a
to
systemic
regen,
thing
Dude.
with
fucking
ship's
forever
items.
though.
Dude, that's why it's gonna
we
be
have
kind
the
of
opportunity now to
like you
find
come
ship
in with a
roles
C2 and
that
it's just
can
like
block
5
people
minutes
from
from now you'll
escaping,
be
either
full
using
shield.
devices that suppress
So
the
jumping
quantum
people
bubble
out of quantum,
or devices
like
that
snaring people, is gonna be
can
insane.
effectively
You're just gonna destroy big
interfere
ships.
with your ability to transfer between the modes.
Yeah.
For example, specific ships like interceptors can be tuned such that they have a higher standard control mode speed, so they're able to catch up with people. Or, for example, make the swap between the modes faster and more efficiently, so that they could catch
I
up
bet
with
they're
you,
gonna get like a
go into
lot of
standard control mode and
complaints
attack you
about this,
more
like no doubt.
effectively as per
yeah,
the
now their
properties
Twitch
of their
chat's
ship
already
versus
blowing
another
up
ship.
above.
Yeah, think of all the like the PVE from people who are gonna cry so hard about this. Like I'm looking at this as a perspective like
And this is working now.
people are gonna get over so hard from
every day
us
in the
with
studio, we're
this.
refining,
Like
we're
that's what
tweaking
I'm
bits
thinking.
here and there. But we're at that stage now where we're tweaking and balancing. We've got the core.
You're not gonna have
features
missile
definitely
spam anymore
playing.
too. So like
And the difference it's made on the game.
It's gonna be
for us
trippy.
is it's basically night and day.
Because the speeds have been
So
limited
this will change
in
combat big
standard
time.
control mode, suddenly fights are a lot closer. The accelerations of ships similarly.
Yeah, the
have been
TTS
retuned a
now
little
is gonna
bit.
be like
Their afterburner
30
defense
seconds.
Has been retuned a little bit to make it so that you
Or
can
TTK.
orbit around ships and have a lot more interesting
No one will be
maneuvering.
able to just run
And
and
because
build
the
a
range
player
is
and he's
closer,
48 missiles.
maneuvers that would be
That's for
performed
sure.
by your ship have a much
Yeah,
more
yeah,
significant
Constellation with
impact.
its
If you're
48
close to a
missiles,
pilot,
like yeah, it's
thrust
never
and
gonna
go
use
down,
them.
You'll immediately see the difference. So similarly, things like capital ships effectively get a buff to their offensive capabilities with this change, because suddenly you can't orbit a capital ship at high range and high speeds. You have to get a lot closer, which will make the turrets much more effective at shooting you. Turrets become more important.
Yeah, that's why
Working
this
as a
doesn't
group
affect me because I'm
to
just gonna
attack
be
capital
sitting in
ships
like
is more
slow
important
mode
than having
constantly with the big ships like refusing to shut my shields off to jump.
This is a really exciting change because it allows us to keep the combat speeds relatively low, where we know that the gameplay is better for that, while also keeping the point-to-point travel speeds as high
That's
as
going
they
to
should
completely
be.
fuck over anyone
Dude.
that wants to
Same
do
with master mode,
transport,
it's
man.
40.
Dude.
You're going to have to quad
Yeah.
into a location. If you're in a C2,
Come in
your
with
shields
no
are going to take
shields.
5 minutes
Yeah.
to charge up.
Before You'd find that you
Dude,
were
you're gonna
fighting
need a fighter
at
escort, and even that's not gonna
Now you
save you
find
because
that
people
you're
just be like
really
focus the big ship while its shields are down.
Yeah.
players. I think
So wouldn't
the
this
biggest
encourage
part of
jousting
this is
even
going
more
to
though
be
too?
when we
Because
have the
everyone's
long
like, oh, I'm just gonna go
interaction
fast. as
No,
a speedo
there is no
or
fast
shield.
to
battles with
torpedo,
big
pretty
capital
much.
ships and
Like,
smaller ships.
because they
One of
said
the
you're not
drawbacks
gonna
of
have
StarCitizen
missiles,
world
and
I don't think has been
systems are not going to be on when you're in the fast speed mode. You're not gonna even arm a missile.
Having made these changes to implement
So
master
yeah,
modes
but
and
like you can
rebalance
still
all
like
the ship
had ramble.
speeds, we'll finally be able to
Like top
define ship
speed
roles in the
is
way
going to
that
be
we
like a
always
couple
wanted,
hundred.
and to bring a lot more
Yeah,
While you're
variety
fighting.
to the
Fight mode,
gameplay
it's
that
like
we
a
haven't
couple
had
hundred.
before.
So it's been a really long journey here, obviously.
Like
It's
all
been a
over,
hard
so they're
journey.
just gonna cut the speed
We've tried many
altogether.
different things.
Yeah,
over time
so like
you go
to try
into
and
fight
really
mode, you just
create
can
the
only go
experience we
so
want.
fast.
But,
Yeah.
And then
you
you
know,
have
the reality
to
is
switch
from us,
over
it
to
came
the
down
fast
to,
mode, but
it
then you
always is
can't use
assassin,
any
which is
weapons and
creating
your shields
choice.
go down.
Yeah, and in fast mode, you have no shields.
Have
It's gonna be crazy.
consequences. You know, so
That's
massive-
something that sounds a little bit crazy to me. And not
The player
arming
choice.
missiles,
If you have no-
maybe, but the shield
So they're
sounds
choosing to do
insane.
combat. They're choosing to travel from A
Well,
to
what
B
I mean is,
constantly.
if you have no
They're
shields,
choosing
wouldn't
to
you just
keep
go
you somewhere.
suicide?
Just
and
giving
then
players
just
that freedom
ram
in
the
the
person?
universe we have is just like it's a really magical
maybe.
thing. And
Maybe.
That's
we
my
try many
game.
times to control that as
Like they
you know,
know they're about to
designers
lose,
to
so
try
they
and
just
get a
try to end
specific
it.
experience at some point. But
This is stupid.
we always end up coming back to the fact, let's just
I
give
fly
the players the
past
choice. And
when
let
I'm
them
looking
make
for
the key decisions,
Continuum.
and we'll design
Yeah,
elements around
yeah.
it.
We finally have it. So we're now nailing down the space combat experience for Star Citizen, specifically for.
I'm so curious to see
We know
chat
from
right
internal
now.
playtest that the master mode
Yeah,
stuff
like
works.
the
We
only
know
way
that
I could
works with
see it
our,
kind of making
flight
sense is
Unix,
if they
and it's very
allowed
exciting.
you to like
It
keep
will
your
yet
shields
take
in
a
fast
while
mode, but
to
just
Yeah, I
lose
mean,
the
I
gun.
because
get
the
like,
amount of
you know,
ships
weapon
you
systems
fly in
down to
2042
go
is
fast,
rather
but like,
limited,
I
whereas
got no
in Star
shields.
Citizen
These
we have
are
about, I don't
dangerous
know, more
space
than
out here.
100 ship
Unless they
requests at the moment. But
plan on
the
implementing
whole
like heavy
hard
armor.
problem of
I wish
designing
Mesa
this
was
thing
here
in
to
the
hear
first
this.
place,
This is
or
hilarious.
just need to get the numbers in now.
And all the footage you
I
see
can't wait to
today,
try
this
this.
Yeah.
Is my thing.
It's
Yeah.
all currently playable in the game. That
It sounds like it's gonna piss people off more than
Oh, so much. And they're all here being like, "We got it. We figured it out." Team high-fiving each other, and everyone's like, "This is horrible."
So thanks a
I'm
lot
definitely
for
glad I
listening
haven't gotten
if
too
to us
used to the
today.
PvP
We're
in the
very,
current
very
state,
excited to get
'cause
the
it's
changes to
definitely
Yeah, but
as
if
soon
you-
as possible. And yeah,
if you can't
hope
enjoy
to
the
see you
game, why would you want to
fighting in the
play?
verse.
I can't imagine what because this sounds like all right. I don't even really care, but I'm saying Sleazy and Frankie and all them are probably gonna be like, "This is great. People can't run from us. They'll have their shields down. They're forced to fight with us."